3 on in this league, and we've got the band back together. Everyone's back. We had a couple weeks off of Jonas had to miss a show. Dan had to miss a show. I almost had to miss this one. This one is a little bit later in the day because of that, but we are here and ready to rock. Of course, it's me, Scott Bogman. Follow me on Twitter at Bogman Sports. Jonas Nader at Jonas Nader from NBC Sports Edge. Got to make sure I get the name right now because of the name change. And yeah, Dan hasn't even got to talk to you about that yet. And Dan Bespers of Hoopball at Dan Bespers on the Twitter. So, Dan, go ahead. I could see you want to ask the question here.
We only have Jonas for a half hour, but I got all these questions. So no, let's do fantasy. I'll text Jonas. I'm gonna call it Roto World for like at least 2 years before I get it right now.
100%. Yeah, but NBC Sports Edge is a pretty good name. So
we all grew up on Roto World.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, Dr. A, we had him on last week to replace you, Dan, and he wrote a nice article about saying goodbye to Roto World. There were a couple people that misinterpreted that and were like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss your articles, Steve." And it's like,
people thought I was canned as well. They're like,
"Yeah,
nice knowing you."
They're like, "Well, we'll see you over at Hoopball, I guess, or wherever you land." But Dan's waiting for that. Yeah, let's dive in here because, like Dan mentioned, Jonas is a little bit up against it on time, so we're gonna go straight to you first, Jonas. So, what is topic number 1 for you this week?
I'm going to skip my second topic and then go back to number 1 because I'm pretty excited because JJJ, who was supposed to be out for a minute back in November, we're now approaching, 7-8 months. He finally returned to limited practice. And based off what Chris Harrington's saying, one of the best Grizzlies follows, is they expect him back right after the All-Star break. That's his best guess anyway. That's all the vibes he's getting. And I'm even more excited than I usually am because I saw him shooting before their last game. And remember when Dylan Brooks said that JJJ is a legit 7'2" now? Yeah. I think it's true. He looks massive. He has muscles on top of his muscles on his shoulders now. He used to be scrawny. JJJ looks absolutely ripped. So this means he might average 4 rebounds per 36 instead of 3, which is what everyone complains about with this guy. But I'm super excited. The last time we saw him, he was putting up like 25 points in the bubble, like almost 4 triples. Just becoming the total package, and I can't wait. And the big thing, too, is what I'm really excited about is I thought the Grizzlies were going to be out of the playoff race by the time he got back. They're actually 12-12. They have kept their head above water. They are the 9th seed right now. They're in that sweet spot where they can be a little bit more adventurous with JJJ's minutes, I would say. So really excited about him going forward. Maybe a restriction early, but I think he's going to be a second rounder after the first week of his return, obviously.
Are you trading for him now, like in a redraft league, Jonas, or are you still a little bit worried about this timetable and how many times it's been pushed back and all that stuff?
If I was in the top half of the standings, I would go get him now. That's how confident I am about it. They have made sure that he is going to be 100% when he returns. Like apparently it was a full trim, so the recovery was longer, but it's also the safer procedure for the long term. So there's not going to be anything back holding him back. So I'm really excited about him. I think it's going to be, like I said, top 24 going forward.
Dan, what do you think?
I mean, he better be damn good. He's made a lot of people wait a long time for this. Yep. He's a stud. He's a stud. And, you know, my only issue with JJJ, my only issue that I've ever had with him is that I can't stand drafting injured guys because sometimes this type of stuff happens where you're like, oh, you know, timeline should put him back in sometime in mid to late January. And then it's like, oh, by the way, it's going to be March. So, yeah, I mean, if you made it this far, you ought to be able to cash in. He's a damn good basketball player.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him.
I was brief. I can keep it brief. I really can.
Well, you were brief until you bragged about how brief you were. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm with it. I'm with JJJ. I'm excited to see him back. I'm with you though. Like, you know, if you can't trade for him unless you're sitting fairly pretty, I would say even maybe in the top quarter of your team, you know, and you can afford a little bit of a hit instead of the top half. I don't want to be a borderline playoff team and trading for him. I want to be pretty sure I've got a spot locked up. But what's number 2 for you, Jonas?
I think Dan was mad when I posted this one because I'm pretty sure he wanted to talk about Ricky Rubio today. Were you?
Yeah, I kind of did.
Okay, cool. Glad I sniped you there. So I want to talk about Ricky Rubio's resurgence. That's actually really hard to say. Wow.
Ricky Rubio's resurgence. Yeah.
That's a sweet band name. Call it. Can I do the what was the character's name in Parks and Rec?
No, Andy Dwyer. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I call that band name?
Yeah. Called it. Yeah. Ricky Rubio Resurgence, new band name. I called it.
Called it. Okay, go ahead.
So he had a 20-point game last night, 13 assists, three pointers. And the funny thing is, I actually wrote about him as a buy low, and people were like, "What the hell are you doing? He's never going to be good again." And then he finally had that really big game to, like, I don't know, make me look good for once. But so this is a guy who, as you all know, historically he goes bananas in the second half of seasons. This is just what he does. So I did a little research. In the last 2 months of his last 6 seasons, he's only had one season outside the top 100. Every other season, he's been 48th, 35th, 30th, 49th, and 67th. There's something about the second half. This guy is just looking forward to vacations. I don't know. He's never been on a good team. He just plays his heart out. With Russell off the floor this year, like, he obviously could not coexist with Russell. That was just an awful combo. But when Russell's off the floor, he averages 10 dimes per 36, which is among his career highs. So really excited about him going forward. And obviously having Cat back in there makes things a little bit easier for everyone. So I think we're looking at a top 25 guy the rest of the way after sitting outside the top 200 until now. So,
you know, there's a weird thing, and Dan and both of you guys, I wonder if you agree with it or not. A lot of people say there's no invisible line. It's more of a baseball thing than a basketball thing, but there's no invisible line of a guy being a first half guy and a guy being a second half guy. But there are guys like Ricky Rubio that just perform better, whatever it is. I mean, I know with basketball, it's probably a little bit easier to point out because it's guys in general coming in out of shape and playing their way into shape instead of, you know, coming into camp in shape. So is Rubio just one of those guys, Dan, or is this more of a D'Angelo Russell's banged up right now? He's going to be out for a month at least, and that's where Rubio is taking advantage.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a combination of things here. You can stare at it and try to figure it out. His start in Phoenix wasn't horrible. You know, there's something to being as deferential as he is that can make it a little bit harder to kind of get into a groove. But he sort of runs in parallel with my second topic, and we can loop back around to it. But he this year at least he kind of fell into that, something I'm trying to coin a term called streamer with benefits, where you get a guy who, like, you know, he was dropped in there when D'Angelo Russell was out. We know enough about Rubio to know that his fantasy value has a very high ceiling because of the assists, because of the steals, and free throw percent, I suppose. And so you're looking for this any little inroad. And that's why I think it was about 12 or 13 days ago, I had a podcast where I was like, I think you have to just put him on your team and see what happens, because on the off chance he clicks at all, he can rocket up the boards. And then the injury sort of helped that, or the injury becoming a longer term thing kind of helped him meet that mark. But in terms of why certain guys start slow, I don't know. Maybe off seasons are too long for some dudes, and his wasn't as long, but he was banged up in the bubble, and so they were kind of depressing his minutes with Phoenix at that time. It's really hard to say, but it does seem like Cat being around has been a big help. I know Jonas said that at the end of his statement as well, just having someone that he can run some of that pick and roll stuff with that can do both roll and pop, and a lot of the other guys don't really do both. So he's settled in, and it's exciting. I have him in a few places, and I feel good about that.
Yeah, I've been holding on to Rubio for that second half in one league for a while. So he's coming through now, and I'm enjoying it. So I think that's kind of,
don't drop him when you hear D'Angelo Russell's coming back. See what happens. He may carve himself a role here.
Yeah, Saunders' rotations have been so weird. So yeah, absolutely. He's probably gonna roll with the hot hand, especially if they're playing well. So what's last here for you, Jonas?
So this one's interesting. So the Cavaliers and the Pistons are both going to sit Drummond and Blake Griffin, former partners, until they're traded, which could be a while. Like, I don't see a market developing for either. So you guys might find a trade destination for either, but I wanted to hear your destinations. I think they're going to be bought out, both of them, giving some salary back just so they can go to the right teams. I'm going to predict mine first, and then I'll let you guys go. But I think Drummond's going to either Dallas or the Nets. And I think Blake Griffin is either go to the Nuggets, a Clippers reunion, or the Heat. Curious to see what you guys think.
I could definitely see Blake in Miami. I think that's a good fit because they don't really need him. He can take a veteran minimum and try and go get a ring with those guys. So I
Yeah,
can
and their
see
power
that.
forward spot is weird there.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened
I
to
like-
Kelly Olynyk, right? Like that's been disappointing. I was riding him so hard early, and now he's just gone.
So up and down.
Yeah.
That's a streamer with benefits right there. It's Kelly Olynyk when he's good. He's pretty solid.
I like that you're using it already.
I'm helping you out, man. I get
you.
I get 1% of whatever you get because of that, right? I'm helping.
We'll get t-shirts made.
But for Drummond, we were talking about this. The teams that were in on him, I agree with you. I think he's going to get bought out because teams are just not willing to trade for him right now and take on that salary. I think if they were, we would have seen something done already. I like Charlotte. I saw that it was Charlotte, Toronto, and I think the Nets were the three teams that were talking about him. I like the Nets going small. I don't think he fits anywhere, but I think Charlotte I think would be really nice because they're going with those three guards so often. So you throw those three guards, Gordon Hayward and Andre Drummond in that lineup, and I think you're doing right by your team. So I like that one.
I don't mean to be such a downer, but I don't know if any teams really want Andre Drummond, right? Like it's not a nice thing to say, and he's still a terrific rebounder, and maybe he gets his game cleaned up if he goes to a place where he feels like there's either a future or even a present. But watching him play since the trade to Cleveland, end of last year, and then all of this season pre-trade shutdown here, I mean, he's doing things he should not be doing on like every 2 to 3 minute basis. And I get it. The Cavaliers are probably worse without him, but that's just because they're so awful that like anything is helpful these days. But he can't even make his layups anymore. What happened to this dude?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. But I think part of that is maybe just not wanting to be in Cleveland. You know what I mean?
Or Detroit. Like, I feel bad for the guy. I think Dan makes a great point. He's never played for a winner. Right. I wonder what would happen if he had actually something to play for once in his life, Yeah,
that's why, I like Charlotte, but maybe the Nets, like you mentioned, Jonas, is more realistic because he's just going to try to glom on and get a ring, so it depends on what he wants. Does he want a little bit more money and more playing time? I think that's Charlotte. Does he want to go and get a ring and maybe not have to be on the court as much? I think that's the Nets. So it'll be interesting when those whole situations wrap up. I also hate these situations, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't like the fact that these guys are going to sit, because if you drafted these guys, I mean, Blake Griffin, you shouldn't have been depending on, but just Andre Drummond, you're probably depending on those rebounds from him every single week. And now you're just getting nothing until they decide what to do. And when is the trade deadline isn't for a while, right? Isn't it March 22nd or something?
The 25th, I think.
Good Lord. So if they're holding out and not buying out Drummond until the trade deadline is up, they're up against the trade deadline, then he's going to be missing a month. That sucks. It really sucks.
I would make 2 quick points though, real quick before I move on. Is I would buy low on Drummond right now because I think anywhere he goes is going to be a favorable spot because his per minute numbers. Say what you want about Drummond in real life, but in fantasy, he puts up numbers no matter what he does. And right now, his per minute numbers are on pace for a career high. And by the way, if he lands in Charlotte and he has LaMelo Ball throwing him up, like that's going to be absolute money. And then the last point is Saddiq Bey. I've been kind of mixed about him, but I do think he's worth taking a flyer on. I wrote down I know Bob wanted to hear his per 36 stats, so he tweeted me.
That's exactly what I asked.
Yeah.
I was like, what are his per 36?
Close to a 500-minute sample size with Blake Griffin off the floor. Saddiq Bey's been starting lately and has a per 36 line of 15 points, 6 rebounds, 2 dimes, 1.2 steals, and 3 triples. Only had 7 shot attempts last night, but I still think there's enough upside here to take a flyer on, and playing on a bad team has its perks. So,
by the way, he's been over 30 minutes the last 2 games, 38. So he's more than 36 2 games ago. And then the middle one they got postponed, and then 32. Yeah. By the way, it's my fault that these games are delayed because I said in one of the more recent shows, I said, I think Jonas, maybe he was right about, these games getting a little bit better with the COVID. And now, I think, my Rockets game just got canceled today because of weather, but there have been some COVID issues as well. So that's my bad. That's on me. and I will take responsibility for it. I apologize to anyone who's missing games this week.
What the hell happened with the Spurs? How did all of them get it at the exact same time? What was the exposure?
Wasn't it just
one
contact
high
tracing?
five? Yeah, I mean,
I thought
who
it was,
knows?
was 4 people had it, or was it 4 people
I
in?
think they said 4 people have it,
Oh wow. Okay.
which is weird because usually it'd be like 1 and then 1
Yeah.
gives it to the other 3, but it was just like boom, all of the Spurs. Oh, by the way, I know I said I'd be brief, but this is actually fantasy related. The Spurs will probably start playing again next week, and they may still be without the 4 guys who have COVID. So be ready, callous though this may be, to jump on other Spurs who made it through this thing without catching. I mean, they may have 2 or 3 other guys might have caught it. They might be down to 8 guys. So you might see the Spurs forced to play Trey Lyles 42 minutes a game next week. So be ready for some potential 1-week streamers.
There might be some streamers with benefits.
Yeah,
maybe
hey.
on the Spurs.
mean,
I'm
Yeah.
liking this. You might be onto something here.
Yeah, I'm getting $1 every time I say it. So
Ring
that's,
the cash register.
you're up next, Dan. What do you got for us?
I'll just go straight into streamers with benefits. It's not my first topic, but it is the one that makes the most sense here. So what I'm hoping this means is it's a streamer that might win the job. Basically, it's a streamer where you're like, I'm going to drop somebody who might have a little bit of value because I'm going to pick up this dude who could actually stick even after, or not necessarily in the same role, but even after whatever event happened that caused them to move up in the pecking order, they can kind of hang around. So Ricky Rubio does sort of fall into that. Thad Young kind of is that this year, where he wasn't really doing anything. Guys got hurt, and he's been so damn good that they can't take him out of their lineup anymore.
Any player on the Thunder?
Player on the Thunder. That's where we're going here.
Any player on the Thunder is a streamer with benefits.
Yeah, well, a lot of those guys are just playing anyway, but the one that needed an injury was Theo Maledon, who needed George Hill to go down. And I don't know when Hill's coming back, and I don't know if he's even going to be on the Thunder when he comes back. So Maledon is my streamer with benefits of the week because he'll have the job probably through the All-Star break. And if they trade or buy out George Hill at some point in the next month, then Maledon just ends up as the full-time starter at point guard there. So I think that's one of those ones where you could even drop somebody with maybe not good upside rest of season, but someone who isn't another streamer to grab this guy who can have lasting impact. So that's what I'm hoping that means. It's streamers with benefits coming to a theater near you starring Ashton Kutcher this fall.
As long as Mila Kunis is in it, I'll definitely
Which
watch
one?
it.
There were 2 movies that were the exact same that came out.
There was one with, I think, Justin Timberlake and Natalie Portman.
Okay.
And then the other one wasn't it? I think it was Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, right?
Yeah,
So,
I couldn't remember which pairing was with who. With
yeah,
Portman.
who knows? I mean, listen, if Mila Kunis or Natalie Portman are in it, I'll watch it. So it doesn't really matter.
Cheers.
If it's them eating, corn on the cob for 30 minutes, I'll tune in. So
Delightful.
that's fine. But
so that's it. That's that whole topic. I wanted to keep that.
are we gonna come with are we gonna get a streamer with benefits article every week, or like how are we?
No, I don't have that much time on my hands, so I'm just gonna talk about it on this show once a week. But I want to talk about some other streamers and see if you guys have any other ones that I'm missing. My favorite one of the night is Willie Hernan-Gomez, since it sounds like Steven Adams who had a messed up back and a busted ankle might actually have to miss a couple of ball games. And Hernan-Gomez, who's never played a minute of defense in his NBA career, is on a team where no one can play any defense. So Stan Van Gundy's like, screw it. At least I'll use the guy who's scoring and rebounding. He's probably my favorite streamer short term. Who else do you guys like? Bogman, I'll point it to you first.
Who was banged up for the Kings? Was it because Corey Joseph went off the other night, right? So he's been looking pretty decent. I gotta represent my Texas guy, right? So I'll say Corey Joseph.
Jonas?
Boring. I don't like Corey Joseph at all. I like Willie Hernan-Gomez. Steven Adams is already doubtful. Did you guys see the latest injury report? That's going to be a very nice stream. Back to Theo Maledon. I think he holds on to the job the rest of the way. Like we said, George Hill's going to get moved. The Thunder acquired him just to move him again. And Thunder coach Mark Daigneault really hyped up the Theo Maledon SGA combo. He said he didn't think it'd work this quick, but he didn't know that Theo Maledon was this good of a shooter already. So I think he's going to stick. There's one more guy I saw on that list. Hold on, let me pull up real quick. Who else did I see on there? You had
a couple other names.
Thibault. Tybalt, interesting, right? 4 steals and a block last night. Obviously, Ben Simmons was out, but if they go to Thibault, he could be a streamer with benefits, right?
Can they just trade him somewhere and,
Right.
and then let Maxey play for the Sixers? Like that's what I want. It's just trade him somewhere, get someone you need. You know, trade him for Drummond or something. Get him out on the court somewhere else.
Joel Embiid was
figure out the moment.
Start,
he needs offensive game so bad.
Yeah. Joel Embiid was really campaigning for Thibault to play more minutes. He said he was going to be the best defender in the NBA someday. And like I said, if Thibault gets 30 minutes, we're talking 3 steals, 2 blocks. Like, that's going to be huge. Even if he does nothing else, like, that's going to be huge.
Yep. And yeah, the other one I had on my list was JaMychal Green, because Paul Millsap got his knee blasted by Alex Caruso. And he's also ruled out pretty early right now. So I thought those were kind of fun ones. And my third topic is a mea culpa. And I know I'm not alone in this, but I'm going to take some heat. I faded Zion really hard this year, and he looks good.
Yeah,
he looks good as hell. 25 and 7, 3 assists, a steal, 0.7 blocks. The single greatest positive impact field goal percent guy in the entire NBA, and he's improved his free throw shooting to the point where it's not killing you. It's quite bad still, but it's not murderous. Like Rudy Gobert has been kind of murderous in his free throw shooting. Giannis has been as great as he's been in a lot of stuff because of his free throws. He's sitting outside the top 30. Zion, number 44 in 9-cat right now. So my apologies. I faded him, and he's killing it. Kudos to those who took a shot on that.
I think all three of us, because I did the bit earlier this year. Where does he end up? Closer to the 120s where he was at, or the 34 wherever he was ranked in the preseason? And I think we all said closer to the 100. So I think all of us kind of botched him. But you see what he did last year, and it was points and boards and field goal percentage, and that's it. He wasn't really getting blocks. He wasn't getting steals. He was bad on free throws. He wasn't shooting threes. So it's surprising. I guess it's not surprising, knowing the hype and how well he played at Duke, that he would be hitting his ceiling so quickly. But I did not think it was going to come this year. So I have to join you on that, Dan.
Well,
so
I was actually
just glom on.
I was the odd man out. I was higher on Zion, and I was wrong for the first 3 months until now, because the difference for Zion really has been the playmaking. So his pick and roll possessions have tripled in the last 3 weeks alone. So he's getting like close to 5 assists per game. And of course, he's not missing a single shot in 3 weeks helps too. But yeah, he's the real deal now. So we asked this question last week, I think. Where would you take him in a draft next year, knowing what we know now? Is probably the question everyone wants to hear.
I think I'm still third, fourth border. I think that's where he probably should go. But if he keeps on this pace, he's going to be a second round pick, because he's still young and people are going to expect him to ascend from year to year. So, but as it stands right now, I'd say 3-4.
Yeah, I think he'll go in the second next year. And I might be inclined to actually do it. Although I need a little bit more of a sample size. He's had 2 weeks where he shot almost 80% at the free throw line. If that holds, he's a second round guy. But we don't. We need to see that over probably a month or two. Even if that 80% free throw shooting doesn't hold, then I don't know how, given the other stuff coming around, he's any worse than like a top 35, top 40 guy.
Let's put it this way. We used to always draft Drummond in like the second round, assuming we were punting the category. So if you're okay with punting right away, you're taking him in the second round. No questions asked. That's the big thing.
Yeah, that's a great point to make too, Jonas. For me, my first one is Anthony Davis with another injury that will keep him out for an extended period of time. How does this impact his dynasty value, you guys? I mean, is this just something we should expect? We should block off, hey, look, he's going to miss a month of games, and that's that. Or is this now another injury to where you go, okay, instead of him being, at the very top of these dynasty lists, he's got to be like in the middle of the first. Dan, I'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, I'm still taking him. This was always a year where we knew he was going to be a little bit of a step back. This has been a bigger step back than I could have ever expected. The fact that he's, outside the top 15 on a per game basis. The bubble run, all of these guys that went deep into the bubble, the Heat are a shell of themselves. where's LeBron at? LeBron's like in the 30 range these days, right? AD's been horrible. The only guy that went deep into the bubble that looks like himself is Nikola Jokic. He's been better. He just needed to keep running an entire year, and he didn't put on any of that offseason poundage. I know that it sort of for all of us, 2 to 3 months off feels like a really long time, but the energy that those guys put into that deep run was crazy. And so these guys are going easy, and the Lakers have double incentive to go easy with AD because they did win the title and they know they're good enough to make a deep playoff run again. So no, I don't think you need to assume this is happening every year. I think there were a lot of circumstances this year that pointed to guys like AD, Bron, Jimmy Butler missing extra time that say weren't the case last year. I mean, didn't Anthony Davis only miss like 10% of his games last season? He was pretty durable. He had that tailbone, he had that butt thing that knocked him out for a couple weeks, but that was pretty much it. So yeah, if this knocks him down for next year, depending on how the Lakers playoff situation goes, if they win the championship again, they're always going to kid glove him a little bit now that they have that chemistry. But this was always the bottom point, which I guess is the nadir. Sorry, Jonas, of the expectations on Anthony Davis. So this might actually be more of a buy, creating a little pocket of value as opposed to the opposite.
You agree with that, Jonas?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Dan said. I do see a scenario in which I don't think he's going to be the number 1 or number 2 guy next year, because I think going forward, he's going to be like that plus or minus 70 games, assuming an 82 game season.
Yeah.
Obviously, if this isn't sick. But so you got to factor in at least 10 to 12 low management games. So you're basically giving him the Kawhi treatment in drafts. So yeah, you still factor in 10 missed games and he's still number 3 in 9-cat, right? So the only player you could say that doesn't have a big question mark in the first round next year is probably Jokic, because he's in shape now and he has no other question marks. Everyone else has a question mark, whether it's a category you have to punt, an injury, or the James Harden saga. Like this year, I don't know. But yeah, everyone has question marks except for Jokic. So AD for me is still in that top 3 and top 4. I guess we should start hitting free throws. What happened there? Like 68%.
Yeah. I forgot I was doing the show with 2 Lakers fans. Probably. I feel like you guys lulled me into that question by not talking up the Lakers too much over the last month here. So yeah, that's on me. Another thing that's on me. How high does Jared Allen go with Drummond gone now? Let's talk about the other side of Drummond leaving. Jonas, where are you putting Jared Allen? How high does he need to be? As far as like trading for him or something, where do you think he gets picked next year as a starter?
Honestly, probably 4th or 5th round. So he's a 6th rounder right now in 26 minutes. His minutes are going to be closer to 32 going forward. If you're punting free throws, let's see, because apparently he's a bad free throw shooter all of a sudden, which is kind of annoying. But if you're punting free throws, he's in that 5th round range. But the big thing about Allen is, and we're going to see it soon, is he's a better passer than people realize. Remember, in the bubble last year, he averaged 4 assists per game. I think the Cavaliers are going to let him explore that a little bit. So I think there's still a little bit of hidden upside here. I think 4th, let's say 5th, and then maybe 4th if he has a big finish. I'll stay in that range. Dan?
I might even go a hair earlier. I might give him top 40 as a full-time starter. He's a stud. I think he's set to have a couple of really big games coming up here. The Cavs had a pretty damn tough schedule and finally had a couple of days off to kind of rest and shake off all the muck. I think he's about to go on a furious run, and I think you might have to draft him near 40 next year.
I love it. I love when you guys talk up Longhorns. That's my favorite. So
he's good. He's fun, man. He's a fun player.
Jonas crapped on Corey Joseph earlier, which I don't like. But
Yeah.
Jared Allen,
he was right, though. Jonas was right. Corey Joseph does.
Look. Yeah, I understand, guys. I get it. He's not that good, but he had a good game the other night. Can I not brag about it once?
No, I look forward to your DJ Augustin breakout article next year.
Well, shut up, Jonas. You don't know. You don't know. Augustine can break out. You don't know. Speaking of breakouts,
he's coming.
Yeah, he's coming. He's only my age, so but I think I am the oldest man on this too. I think I'm like a year older than Dan. So
you're older than me. I always forget. We're close.
I'm 38.
Yeah, you got me. I'm 37.
Yeah. Just by a hair there, by a smidge.
I'm running up on 38.
Jonas, what are you?
You're
13.
Yeah. I'm 27.
27.
I'm excited to attend Jonas's bar mitzvah.
Yeah. Well, I'm only literally a decade older than Jonas, so that makes me feel great. What about speaking of breakouts? Campazzo. I mean, I think he's been good since Barton went out. Malone seems to love him. He's had a couple good games in a row here. A lot of hype coming over from Europe. And Jonas, I'll start with you on him. Is this a guy we need to be maybe looking at in deeper leagues, adding? What do you think about him?
I think so, because when you look at the waiver wire, assists are usually the hardest thing to find unless you have a TJ McConnell on the wire. So assists are hard to find. Monte Morris has been really disappointing. Gary Harris still isn't healthy. Will Barton has been a shell of himself. He's clearly not healthy. Remember last year he had that weird knee pain. And he said he felt it all the way through his body. So there's something weird going on there. Campazzo, I'm surprised he's still alive after Garrison Matthews bull rushed him last night and just completely blitzed him, threw him back 10 feet. By the way, how did they not fight after that? There was no fight.
Campazzo's a nice guy. I think that's got to be what it is.
I don't know. The NBA's fightless these days. Jonas Valanciunas gave someone a shoulder ride and then body slammed him, and nobody seemed to care.
I think there also just horrific repercussions if you fight this year with COVID going on. Like,
I don't know.
I think they said that going into the year too. So I think that's one of the big ones. Like if you fight this year, you're going to be gone for a while. That happened in baseball too. I think there was one fight and they're like, hey, listen, if you do this again, you're suspended for 20 games. You know, it was something huge. So it makes sense.
All right, fair enough. I'll allow it.
Well, your thoughts on Campazzo, Dan?
I had picked him up in like 3 or 4 places when it looked like the Nuggets were going to be without half of their team. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Gary Harris and Monte Morris are back. And now Gary Harris is back out again. So I don't know. Like my brain just gasped when I think about who's playing for the Nuggets. I think I probably trust Jermichael Green more because at least there's that 1-to-1, tapped out. Green gets his minutes thing. I think Monte Morris and Campazzo probably end up splitting a lot of their stuff, but Denver, another team, went deep into the bubble, super banged up this year. Keep a close watch on Campazzo would be my take on that. And 14 teamers, you can probably just grab him and see if he's just carved himself out a 20 some odd minute role. But games cap formats, I'm probably more right on the border. I add drop. He's right on that fringe line and just monitor the injury report.
Jonas, how mad is Steve going to be if Drummond goes to Toronto?
Oh, he'd be inconsolable. Let's just say that. By the way, I don't think that's not going to happen to me. I know Sham said they're in talks, but how do they make that work financially? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I think that's the buyout scare, though, right? Like, if they can't make it and he gets bought out, and then maybe they sign him for the minimum or whatever. You know,
but he's not better than Boucher. That just makes no sense to me. He's obviously better than Aaron Baines. Aaron Baines was great last year, and all of a sudden he can't play, which is very weird. But
very weird.
Yeah,
he got Monstarred.
Yeah.
Well, look, we went fast because we know that Jonas has to get out of here quick, and not many questions this week. So we're just going to roll on out of here. We're going to make it a quick show. At Jonas Nader on the Twitter. Jonas, tell everyone what you got going on at the NBC Sports Edge.
Yeah, thanks for saying. I would have said Roto-Roll just now. So waiver wire column where I'll sneak in a streamers with benefits hat tip shout out to Dan at least once. And then check me out on Tuesday on Twitch for a Q&A at 2:00 Eastern.
And Danny, what is going on at Dan Besbris, of course, on the Twitter? What is going on at Hoopball this week?
I got to come up with I got to learn how to do the voiceover guy and do a streamers with benefits type thing. What the heck is streamers with benefits?
Do you like a tweet storm one night of streamers with that? Just, I'll
just hashtag it. Every damn tweet. Get it. It's happening.
You got to make sure you have the picture of, Justin Timberlake and Natalie Portman.
Oh, I got to figure out which one is which, and I'm definitely photoshopping Theo Maladone's head onto one of them.
That's perfect.
I haven't decided which one. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, guys, I've been without childcare for a week, so I don't know what's happening right now.
Dan's brain is melting.
It's that noise that you heard when I was talking about Denver a minute ago. That's like every 30 minutes, my brain just lets off air, and it's like, what's happening now? And it's full reboot. So I don't know what we talked about 20 minutes ago in this show, let alone what's happening at Hoopball. I don't know. We're covering fantasy sports. Come pay attention to us.
That's right. And betting too.
That's right.
Of course.
All the stuffs.
That's right. Well, over at In This League, the Welsh and I are putting out our show every week for basketball. We've got baseball going on right now. We're about to do a Mystery Science Theater 3000 draft, where instead of us participating in the draft, we are just going to roast all of the people picking. So that's what we're going to do. We got that coming up next month. Obviously, all the fantasy baseball ranks, the Welsh's minor league ranks. I'm working on my NFL dynasty draft rankings right now. I'm going to probably finish those up this weekend, hopefully, and get those out too. So all kinds of stuff and things over at patreon.com/ITL Army for everybody to check out. And we will be back to our normal time and schedule next week, assuming everyone has health care and has power and is alive. So that hopefully all of you guys in the middle of the country there that are getting absolutely dumped by snow, you guys are staying safe, and we will see you guys next week. Take it easy, everybody.